grand, right? I got it. I got it. So yeah, I lost like 100 grand, but then from that point on, I said, okay, man, let me take a smarter route in this real estate. And then I wanted to get in the sales part. And then Harrison, I was like, Harrison, I know you've been selling real estate for a long time, but where should I go? And then he introduced me to Keller Williams and then also another local brokerage. And he wasn't like, come here, you need to. It wasn't he's not a hard seller like that. He basically gave me some options. And then in the end, I was like, well, why would I go there and you over here? Like, that didn't make any sense. Right. So I came on his downline. And then from that point, I was in a lot of ways, I was a showing assistant. I just started working for Harrison. I was opening doors and ground up. If you've been in real estate, you start, you do what you have to do in the beginning. You need to open a door, you need help with an inspection, whatever, right? You do whatever you need to do. So I did all of those things. And then that first year after that kind of got around, ended up being the rookie of the year for the DC Maryland region. And I sold like, I don't know, like 8 million or something like that in like first year. I don't remember. That seems like so long ago, even though it wasn't. And then along the way, I was picking up people at bars. He was one of the guys I picked up at the bar. But it's been a fantastic ride so far. And part of my, part of my focus and my role on the team has been around operations, as well as kind of the other things, right? Like what do you do after you sell real estate, right? That includes wealth building, the personal development, growth. I bought within a 1 year period, I picked up over 100 units, right? So I kind of figured it out a little bit, and then I started buying multifamily properties, and as a team, as a group, we were able to pull money together and just like do these really cool things, right, with your friends and family and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of my story, but I'm sure we'll get into some of that a little bit later.
And what's really cool about Ryan, just his presence in our organization is, I'll tell it, he was really the guiding force that helped us think bigger about coming together. The really cool part about real estate is that you can make money in a lot of different ways, where you can make a very comfortable living just slinging 12, 13 houses a year. And I was one that like, man, I'm telling 30, 40 houses a year. Like, this is great. I'm making good money. I'm happy. I'm okay. And Ryan always asked the question, well, what would it look like? Like, can we do more? And Ryan has a confidence. Like, what's really dope about him, he's a very humble and mild-mannered person when you first see him here. But his confidence, like, he sees stuff and sees other people doing stuff. His first question is, why can't we do that? Well, we can do it better. And my question is like, why would you want to do that? Like, what? I'm fine where I am. So as a personality type, to ask the question what it would look like if we came together, how big could we actually build it, but not just big for the sake of money, big for the sake of how many people can we help, how many people can we impact, how can all this good stuff that I learned that I wasn't able to share with them, that they've been shared with our team, how many people can we touch with the organization we built? So that's really been Ryan's energy. And again, I think it started with KW and that mindset for me saying like, hey, I'm not just going to take my couple skills and stay here by the incentive of downline, profit share, growth share, that helped me think bigger about like pouring into people strategically and how that can return. And I had no idea that just starting out with that little bit of effort could build the relationship and build the structure that it's kind of built. So, I got to give him, our grandma said, give them their flowers while they're here. And I try to give my boy his flowers while he's here with me, because he's always thought bigger and continues to think big to the point where a lot of times, you get scared. Even as we talk in leadership all the time now, he's saying and wanting to do stuff. And I'm always the like, no, and why? Like, no, why is what I say first. Keith is like, well, yeah, and how much we gonna make? And Ryan's like, just trust me and let's give it a shot, and it's worth it, right? We can do it. Wow. So really quick for my bio, I grew up in the DC metro area. I was born in Augusta, Georgia. My family has been split kind of back and forth between the North and the South, which is one of our kind of cultural connections of having really Southern roots. I spent every summer as a kid down in Alabama, and every man in my family actually went to Tuskegee University, where Keith went. So we've got all these awesome overlapping circles of connection and friendship, which is another consistent theme with our business, is that when you show up as good people and are contributing to the communities you're in, people will continue to come out the woodworks, right? To both work with you, possibly in a business sense, but also to just pour in your life and for you to enrich each other by just knowing each other. I went to Georgetown University in Washington, DC, where I got to meet this guy. And right after college, I got my license. 2008, it was somewhere in 2008, right? So I didn't know better. That was a great time to sell, right? Had a couple friends that had parents with trust funds that could pay for their houses and help them do it. neighborhood and other folks that were, starting out their careers and trying to figure it out. So I was, scraping up cash to help the folks with down payment assistance here. Had a couple trust fund kids that could go in between. So I got a great mix and view of all the opportunities in our city. And I didn't know any better. I started in a buyer's market, finding ways to get people to connect with me for free. So we built this infrastructure around attracting opportunities to work without spending money. And that was something we've been able to scale that we'll talk about. But it's always been about relationship. It's always been about connection. It's always been about contribution. And when we wanted to come together as an organization, we were actually having separate conversations. One was, Ryan to Keith first, like, come on, man, let's be partners. Let's do this. Then Ryan to me, and at first, I shut him down. Like, no, man, I don't need that. I don't want that. But then me to Keith, right? And then it was the three of us when we all talked and said, no one's really done this from a team or leadership standpoint, having three people with independent businesses. And let me be clear, we were all fine with what we were doing, making good money. Rookie of the year. I won a bunch of awards for like
30 under 30.
30 under 30. Like we had stuff that we had figured out, but Ryan, as the consistent question asker, to say, hey, what does this look like if we actually combine forces? And that timeline was 2019, when we actually decided to come together officially, but it was probably 2017, 18, when we were having conversations, helping each other out in different ways. 2019 spring was when we first came together officially. 2020, right? the year that changed everything. We were extremely well positioned, and just, we're all people of faith and say that like everything happens for a reason, and you are where you're supposed to be at that time. We had administrative staff and people that did not work in the DC metro area. So we were doing Zoom and virtual meetings in the fall of 2019. So when everything had to shift to virtual, we were ready. Like we were right on point. We were already had a leg up and an advantage with that virtual communication because it's what we did. And we were able to, from a production standpoint, this was our pseudo-racist Migo.
But we weren't together on this photo.
We were not official, yeah. And the idea was we were the amigos that were friends, and our team leader made this panel discussion for us to just talk about the power of profit share and sharing and being open-minded, and made this very weird graphic that has now been circulated.
I didn't have that graphic.
Did you just share this recently?
I did, on your page.
Oh, okay. It was like a memory.
It was a memory on Facebook, and I shared it.
I was like, what is this? What is the story going on here, guys? I'm still holding on to my little.
But I think we were actually, at this time, I think we were talking.
We were talking
about it already.
We're talking.
Yeah,
it was silent,
super silent.
secret.
Yeah.
Before we actually went in.
Man, how mighty grown and changed. But then now to the organization that we have, and I'll let Ryan. You want to talk a little bit about our org chart and kind of where we're at today?
Yeah, so I know a lot of times people see us as like the kind of the face of it, but we have a heap of support in the back. That's a Southern term, by the way. I don't know you guys use heap, but we have a heap of support in the back. We have on a total organization size, including us, is about 25 people. So we have our listing team just by itself. We have a listing manager, listing coordinator, in-house photographer, videographer, and then we have a project manager that actually helps get any repairs, renovations, and stuff like that for clients to get that up and going. So that's just the listing department by itself. We have ISAs, we have a buyer transaction that's specific on buyer, plus some VAs, and then we have 7 agents right now on our team. So if you look at the split, we probably have more operations and like ISA department, lead generation, market, all that stuff. Then we actually have agents right now.
11 to 10. It's 11 on the support side and 10 on the sales side, including us.
We are still in production.
So again, as you have a lot of people that present on big stages and come and talk, and it's just the huge personalities, we are, culturally always going to say nobody succeeds alone and nobody achieves these big, massive numbers by themselves. Keith can do a lot of stuff by himself because he's got a higher motor in terms of just the attraction that he does. But like for us to all put up these kind of numbers, it has to happen as a group. One thing I'm going to come back. This is just a snapshot in terms of the last 3 years, in terms of the numbers we've been able to put up and do. And the most important in this is the middle, like the units closed. From the beginning, that has been our focus, right?
Yeah.
How many people first can we be in relationship with?
Yeah.
Then how many can we have consults with? Because we know when we have a good buyer consult, we're going to convert them, good buyer seller consult, we're going to convert them to a client. And then the secret sauce, which Keith will talk about, is once they are within our ecosystem and universe, how do we love on them? How do we support them? How do we invite them back to our events to hang out with us and bring them friends? Like, how do we activate?
And when I'm looking at the number from 2019, I'm thinking about our events. A big part of our business, our events, we throw the biggest and best events to where party promoters in the city are calling us now to come to different venues, right? So in 2019, I think our Christmas party was probably around 250, 300 people. And in 2020, the pandemic came, we didn't have an event. And now, you know, we have over 500 RSVPs for our past client events, which I think is super awesome as that number continues to grow.
And in addition to the party, one second, people that come, we activate them to bring their friends and set up appointments. I think it's at least a dozen appointments and at least 3 or 4, at least 3 or 4 that are currently under contract from a March event that we did. It was always a party with a purpose.
Do you want us to hold questions to the end?
I mean, it's a small enough room. We can, I'm okay. Yeah.
How do you have listing agents versus buyers agents? So you and everybody's allowed to do everything?
Yeah.
Go eat.
We gotta
Go eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many total? I think you said you have 11 support and 7 agents.
7
3 plus
agents.
7.
Okay.
Yeah, we're probably right closer. Actually, we just hired a couple, so we're probably close to 24 total. But still, agent-wise, it's the number's still the same.
7 agents.
7 agents. Yeah,
Okay.
we're literally about to go into agent recruitment mode because we built the infrastructure to be able to support probably 50 to 75% more than what we support right now, which is a pretty decent number as it stands. But what we didn't want to do was bring on agents and not have the support and the structure that allowed them to be their best version. So, you know, we took a little bit of hit up front to build out what we needed to build.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
And that growth though started back in 2019.
Yeah.
So it's 3 of you to now today, it's 7.
It's 10 total. So yeah,
Yep.
3 to 10. Yeah. And we pretty much did all of that with four agents. We had
4
3 agents and then his showing assistant that evolved to a
Yeah, 19, I was the only one that brought on an additional salesperson. We did have 1 administrative support initially and added a second pretty quickly for 19. So we're really just.
Yeah, there was like 6 of us
Yeah, 6
in
in
2019.
Yeah.
Do you have any dedicated showing agents right now?
Yes, we have 1.
Yeah.
1 dedicated showing agent.
Dedicated pretty much to keep. Yeah,
Okay.
90% to
Yep.
keep and a little bit to me.
Okay. Okay.
So how do you manage that many? So just looking at those numbers and thinking about the 3 of you, how do you manage just calls alone, getting back to people, responding?
So the way I look at being in a relationship with people is being organized from a CRM standpoint and really honing in on your systems. You have to have great systems, right? So when we're having buyer consultations, number 1, we have a VA that's making sure everything is being documented.
What's a VA?
Virtual assistant.
Oh, thank you.
Virtual assistant. Everything is being
Just
documented. Yeah. That everything is being documented, right? And then we also want it to be as automated as possible. So for example, when someone comes in and want to schedule a meeting with me, a consultation, they fill out a JOT form. A JOT form is a back-end system that shoots up to our CRM tool. It's just like a Google Doc form per se, right? And once they fill that out, I get information from their price point, their name, email, birthdays, social media platform, and things of that nature. And that all shoots up into our database.
That's on your calendar. That's your calendar.
Correct. Right. Exactly.
And I'll repeat it. Go ahead, finish it.
And it comes into our database, right? Into the CRM, but from Calendly to the CRM, right? And then as far as follow-up, there also another tracking mechanism that we used to be the CGI pipeline tool from KW that is documented with the name, phone number, and then our also being able to follow up with them. I go by, if we're doing a consultation, it's either signed or set, right? If you're in a consultation and they don't sign that buyer agency agreement, you need to be setting the next appointment for you to be meeting with them, right? And so that follow-up is very important. And also, I would think you want to talk about 12 weeks.
And that's sign and set for any meeting with
any meeting
client. Because showings, you sign a contract or you set the next one, right?
Yep, absolutely. And
he's fantastic with that. That's why that's his methods. Yeah.
And I would say also we have the 12-week year where every Tuesday for 30 minutes, we're going through our pipeline, our appointments and pendings. That's really like the lead indicators or appointments, right? And we're going through that, talking about the what's going on in the marketplace, how many appointments, and that's fully visible and super transparent, right? You want to be as transparent as possible with your systems and stay true to those and don't cheat the systems, right? Because that's very important to, when you're looking at right now, what's gonna happen, how many checks are you gonna receive 6 months from now, right? And that's important.
What is, God, I'm sorry.
I just want to say, Bridget, the things that dive in on a little bit more is Keith, more so than your average person, is attracting a lot of folks and can probably field and, juggle more people that are inbound that want to talk. A really important system that's helped us get better, that we had to figure out right away, is how do we efficiently go from the person who's interested to having them schedule an appointment, to having their information be saved and tracked somewhere other than my head and a text message.
Yeah.
So the specific system we use now is Calendly, which is an appointment booking tool.
Yep.
Ryan got that to talk on the back end using Zapier, or using Zapier is a product that can get Calendly to then talk through a form to put people's information right into our CRM, which right now is Brivity. It was Follow Up Boss, just switched to Brivity because for enterprise and bigger organizations, it helps. Before it was Follow Up Boss. So a really powerful tool that helps both save our brains, help us track who we were talking to, know who to follow up with, and even more, know who on our team to be handing deals out to, was getting much better with, you want to talk about it, you're documented, an appointment is set, and all your information is tracked somewhere. So when I have any downtime, I can go back in and check, and we as leadership can see, what's happened with this person that we all talked to a couple weeks ago. And that's our current flow, is Calendly, using Zapier to a Jot form or a Google form into Brivity, which then we talk about with our consistent meetings with the team to go. So just wanted to be specific there.
So I also have some simple simplicity to it. So our 12-week year, you might not have heard of it, but it's a book. It's a book that you read and you kind of implement, similar to, say, the One Thing conceptually, right? But it's about taking 1 year and compressing it into 12 weeks. And what that does is it forces you to only focus on the things that's most important to you, right? It helps you strip away all the fat, all the things that's not that important. It helps you strip away those things so you can focus, what are you going to focus on this year? And so for our 12-week year, there's 2 numbers we track. We don't track it. There's other things we track behind the scenes, but to our agents, there's only 2 things we track. It's how many appointments you went on and how many pendings you get. And every week we look at those numbers and we can see the trends. We know what's going on in the market before it happens because we see it in our numbers. We're big enough enterprise to where when we see something change a little bit, we know something's going on in the market. We see, oh man, what happened in March? It's like our number, you take out March and it looks like this. And you go in March, for some reason we did this. So was it raids? Was it war? Was it all these things that's going on in the world, right? So those, a couple little numbers, I know you can get people can get infatuated and overwhelmed with so many different things to track. Before, the only thing we ever tracked was appointments, because we knew for every 2 appointments we got, 1 client will close from an event, right? Now we had to add a few other things in there just because as the organization got bigger, different people have different conversion rates and stuff like that, right? But we knew in the beginning, 2 appointments a week is going to get you 4 deals a month. There are 3 or 4 deals a month, right? So
That's what I was shifting to. What do your meetings look like with your agents, and what does accountability look like to get to those numbers? How often are you meeting with them? What are you tracking? What are you talking about? If they're not meeting or hitting their numbers, what does that conversation look like?
that's a couple different questions. So
Sorry.
no, that's fine. I just want to make sure I answer the different ones. So I think I talked a little bit. I probably answered most of those questions, right? I would say as far as the part, when you see the numbers, people will start self-selecting because the transparency, it brings honesty, right? Before you can hide and you can say, oh man, I had a couple appointments and I had this and that, and 6 months later, it's like, man, this is like, how many deals did you close? Right? But when you see the numbers every week and everybody's looking at your number, you see, we call them goose eggs. You see 4 goose eggs, 6 goose eggs in a row. You know, there's but there's also got to be the expectations that you have for your team members that's an important conversation you have to have with yourself. Meaning like, you know, oh man, I did 40 deals, so you should be able to do 40 deals. I think that's probably not the best approach to right? I would say the best approach would be to see what the average is across the board and have a baseline standard amongst us. We know what the average is from NAR, right? So have your baseline standard there. And if you decide you want that to be more, great, but make sure you're holding yourself accountable just as much as you're holding your agents accountable. Because a lot of times we forget to hold ourselves accountable for the leadership that it takes to lead a team. It gets really easy to point and blame somebody else without looking at yourself. You're like, I'm selling houses. Like, yeah, but they're on your team because they need your leadership. Right? They're on your team because they need the other things that you're bringing besides selling homes.
And the specific meeting rhythm we've got is every Tuesday by Zoom, Google Hangout, 11 a.m. team meeting. That's everybody. Most important part there is talking about wins and gratitude for the week briefly, like everybody in one place talking about it, sharing important info we've got for them in terms of the training, something else they need to know. And we've pivoted a little bit this year to actively reviewing what's under contract and what's going on and talking about it in a team setting and really trying to bang that out in 30 minutes.
And what's missing.
And what's missing.
And what do the admins need?
And then upcoming opportunities too, like, because we've got, and one thing I didn't get to say from the numbers, you saw a big jump from 20 to 21, not so much in units, but in closed amount in GCI.
Yes.
We had a lot of move up clients that had listings and then buyers, and their price point went up significantly in a year. Like our price point really increased because we stayed in touch and we were intentional about our communication to talk about listing stuff, creating videos, creating content to attract listings from our sphere. And it worked significantly. We doubled our listing production and are about to double it again.
For this year, yeah. And I would argue that if we have transparency with us, I don't think we have the infrastructure. The reason we wanted to build the infrastructure in place is because you saw that big jump from one year to the other, 19 to 20. I mean, that was a burnout year.
Oh, big time.
Like, it was
and the pandemic. And it was a pandemic.
Yeah, it's pandemic. So like 2021, we were just trying to like
survive.
Recover. Right. So that's why you didn't see a big jump in numbers, right? Because it's like we were trying to recover, and now we're trying to figure out how does this really need to look to have sustainable growth over time? Because we were like 19 and 20 was more or less the same size. We were a little bit bigger. We weren't that. We probably had 10 people total for 300 deals. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't do that. That's a terrible idea.
Not 200.
Oh, yeah, we sold so many, whatever.
So that was 270 buyer transactions in that 20 years.
Yeah.
And granted, if you look at our foundation, like we had built a system that was attracting through conversation, communication, and our marketing a bunch of hungry, ready, willing, and able buyers, and we were getting them closed. But then, and we're like,
how many of those buyers became sellers in 2021?
I mean, that's right. But I mean, but it was more of the folks we had been in relationship, and once you get up and you can show those numbers and other success, that's the language that sellers hear more. Like, oh, you see what you're doing, and we put out. And we were just more thoughtful.
You had to change the conversation. So people always say like, here's something for, I mean, everyone's business kind of different levels, right? Different places rather. And so one thing we always said is like, I want to get more sellers. Who do I have to go talk to, right? I have to go talk to somebody else, right? And I've always been of the mind that, no, you talk to the same people. The reason you're not getting sellers is because your message is not to sellers. So you can literally talk to the same database. And if you change your mindset, which also is going to change your words, right? And so the message is going to be received differently for the person that needs to hear it around this thing. So we actually didn't go out and do a bunch of crazy stuff. We just changed our messaging to our current database. We got more listings.
Absolutely.
From saying in 2018, 2019, we got the best buyer seminars in the world. We had 130, we had literally a packed house in our DC office. Like there was not enough room for folks to come in for a buyer seminar. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is pretty powerful what we're doing. And later in 19 and then into 20, we changed that messaging and changed the things we're putting out to say we're doing seller seminars, fix up your house seminars. We're helping you maximize the value of your home if you're staying in it by just making some of those content pieces that we've been putting out through our newsletter with Viral. Like the return on that and how people then share, our same people share it, really helped us grow significantly. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And this is what we love about these is to dive in and get granular. But we do have a couple more specific kind of presentation pieces we want to share. I did want to go back to another really important part of us, which is our mission. We say it everywhere, we repeat it, we have literally manifested it. Keith, would you mind telling everybody what our mission is?
Yeah.
And what it means to you?
We do that on the call every Tuesday. Our mission, be the bridge to our community for all things real estate, lifestyle, and wealth building. And what that means, you know, you have a lot of, as Asians, we kind of get a bad rep of chasing checks, right? Change the way you look at things and the things you look
Chicks
at.
or checks?
Checks. Oh, checks. Checks.
I heard it too, so.
That's a southern accent.
Chicks also.
I'm sure somebody's doing the other one too.
Right.
Not here. Go turn
But yeah, CHECK checks.
So we're clear.
Yeah, but we're not just a transactional company, right? We're always coming from a place of contribution, and we always want to help people. And we're not just talking about right now. We're talking about how can this purchase or sale help you 5 years from now, you know? And for me, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but what do you like to do? What are you interested in? What are your hobbies? What businesses do you own? What businesses do you want to own? And a lot of those conversations have helped me close not just one transaction with a client, but maybe 2 or 3 more, because, okay, now they're starting to think about wealth building. Well, they can buy multiple homes in a year or 2. So it's not just about, you know, how quick can I close you? How quick can I get you through the process? But how can we be in relationship with you for the rest of your life?
Another powerful thing just about us visually, right? Like we're 3 young Black men, right? The oldest, my oldest. You don't know this. You know this.
You are? Oh,
A couple months. But there was nobody in the city or really nationally leading a conversation that looked like us with the same flavor, style, and swagger. Honesty, yeah, to just be who we were doing it, right? Like sales and even luxury, right, at a high level didn't look like us and where we are. And I've had limiting beliefs over time with some of the bigger deals and people that have come to us like thinking that I wasn't qualified because I didn't know whatever. And but this
Now
is
you
where
wearing cool sneakers.
Yeah.
You wasn't doing that in 2017, man.
No, sir. So I say that to say another piece. I'm gonna give Ryan some more flowers. That belief that you are not just qualified, but the people who are reaching out to you need you to be able to help them, and they came to you for a reason, was a big part of us manifesting and living out this mission, right? That wealth building story, that wealth building journey that we've been on, both inspires the people who are trying to get up to where we are, but also speaks to folks with a lot of wealth already, right? That can help. You want to talk about increasing your price point and working with different strata and different groups. Like when you put that language out there, when you are leading with it, the people and opportunities it attracts is amazing, and you learn so much so that you can then teach more going that way. And that's a big thing I'm passionate about with my leadership journey with the association stuff, is making sure that realtors and the people who are out talking with folks about their biggest asset and their biggest investment know what the fuck they're talking about, right? And literally can give a few more tools and tips that can change an entire family's trajectory. And for us being young Black men, in that conversation to other folks, like you talk about, one of the biggest separators and what the wealth gap in America is people having access to capital, access to ownership of property, access to the rules of money. And for us kind of breaking down some of those rules and inviting everybody into that circle, it has paid dividends and it's continuing to pay dividends, and it's investing in folks that are really making significant life changes. You know, Keith has had folks, right, that by working with him, by working with us, Ryan has had folks that by working with them and working with us, we've literally changed the trajectory of what their family's doing by speaking it into existence and showing them the roadmap that they can do. So that's the bigger piece behind our mission, vision, and values, is like being who we are, coming from where we come from, to be able to pass those keys to the kingdom on. It's made a big difference, and you know, impacting people's lives. Do you have something to say in that, right?
No, I think I always say the one thing that people don't realize, they talk about real estate and how to make money, but I always try to help people think about 30 years from now or 40 years from now with real estate. You know, if you look at the biggest expenses in our life, it's 3 of them, right? One is, what is it? Give it to me. You probably don't know what it is. Nothing, definitely. What's the top expenses in your life? Right?
Children.
Yes. Healthcare, right? Housing, right? So imagine, right? What would it look like, right, if you didn't have any housing expenses, right? Yeah. And that's extremely possible, because after you pay off your house, your housing expenses reduce like drastically. And considering most people, you know, between Social Security and small amounts that they actually live on, that's life changing. That's like to not have to pay another $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500 a month when you're 65 and 70 years old. like that's fantastic, right? So I always say, like, a lot of people look at real estate from an offense standpoint, like, oh, I'm gonna increase my wealth. And it's like, also think about it from defense, from protection, from like asset protection, right? Like you're protecting your family, you're protecting your investments. So it's just another like perspective to look on it when you talk to people, because because some people don't want to be real estate investors, and that's fine. But you still need to protect yourself in any way you can, right? Protect yourself at all times.
Okay, so how did we do it, right? We talked a little bit about kind of our journey, how we've gotten here, some of the like tactical and specific things that we did to grow as an organization. But I highlighted these, and sorry, if you can't read that clear, I'll read them all out. But I think one of the most important things that helped us kind of grow and become who we are is culture, one. And what does culture mean? What does culture look like? I think it started with a culture and a willingness to share and educate first from each other, right? From me to Ryan, Ryan to Keith to everybody else in our organization and team, but then also to our community, right? When we go with the home buyer seminars, home seller seminars, leading with education first and not with commission breath as like a cultural ethic is something that attracts people into our universe, and then they want to come to us, like they're coming with their hand raised saying, I want to work.
Contribution, lead with contribution.
For sure. Like I said, attraction, I think, is a key part of culture. And Keith, you want to talk a little bit about like just your mindset with attracting opportunities, or actually maybe when you go to your sales cycle, we'll do that. But that's something I think Keith has been able to do at an extremely high level, and different than anyone I've ever met, is just by being who he is and helping the people he helps, it gets people to, his phone rings, right? Like he gets to both like talk to folks and say, come on, and they are coming saying, hey, I want to work with you and be a part of your entity at a high level.
And just we didn't actually really talk about numbers, but perspective on the reason why Harrison is harping on that. So Harrison, I think when you had a small team, he was doing what, 60, 70 transactions a year?
Yeah, it was like 55 and about 25 now.
Keith did 54 units his first year. So to get some perspective on why Harrison is saying this, 54 units his first year as a solo agent. The last year he did 120 units, I believe. Sorry. Oh, excuse me.
The work that made was created.
10%. I was 10%. I was listening.
Created 160, worked 100.
Yeah, and that's with a showing assistant, but the fact that you're able to deal with, 8 to 10 people a year for closing, basically closing two a month. I mean, sorry, 2 a week, right? So that's a big ask, right? Even high producing agents, to me, if you're doing 25 to 35 deals, you a darn good agent, man.
Yeah, with a $500,000 average price point. I mean, that's insane.
So it's just some perspective on like why Harrison is like referring to Keith as like the leading goat over here. So,
and also to be clear, like what Keith does at a high level, there's, we were all athletes, as if that wasn't mentioned before. Like there's LeBron that comes in the gym and has both a high level of skill, but also chooses to work to be at the top and be there. And there's some folks that can work hard their whole life. They're not going to be LeBron, but they can be very good. They can be very good. And that's what we see as a team. They're in the game. And that's one of our biggest, we talk about culture, is folks that are willing to come in and work. If you've got some extra skill that we can enhance even more, awesome. But we've also just been able to have folks with that hunger, that desire, that willingness to work, and that cultural connection that can be very good. And that's what's so awesome about real estate, right? You time on task, man.
Yeah.
Time on task.
Any basketball fans in here? Any basketball fans? See the Heat versus Celtics? You guys seeing that game going on right now? The guy for the Heat called Jimmy Butler.
Yep,
no one calls this guy, it's my cousin. It's not really my cousin. So no one calls this guy a superstar, but for some reason he keeps winning. So I always liken that to like, hey, you can be extremely hard working. He went to junior college first, then he went to college. He took the long route, not this 18, I'm coming in with $100 million contract, right? He took the long route, but the hard working route. And in this space, they always talk about talent. Most of what talent is in this space is just the willingness to work. If you're willing to work, you're gonna get far in this business. And once you're no longer willing to work, your business will decline.
Collaboration. Oh, please.
So I want to go back for a second because you talked about your system in terms of having and the importance of being organized and having systems for the setting up of the appointment and the follow up. What about if I'm doing a deal with you, Keith? Are you communicating with me?
Absolutely.
As an agent?
Absolutely.
directly?
Absolutely. If you want, so the process, we do the buyer consultation, you and I, right? And then that.
No, I'm the
You're
agent,
talking
I'm
about
the other
agent,
agent.
agent, the agent, after, under contract.
Oh, well.
Because I hear it a lot
Yeah,
from other
he's hired,
agents,
that's
like,
our
I
next-
can't get the
yeah.
agent to respond or what have you.
Yeah.
Because they're so busy.
He hired. So I want to say this was 2019 when Tracy came on.
Yeah.
And immediately, right, I said, Ryan, like Tracy, she can do 250, 270 transactions. We need her because the agents that we're doing deals with right now, the agents that we're doing deals with right now, they don't even want to talk to me. They want to talk to Tracy, our transaction coordinator on the buyer side, right? And they don't have to talk to me, which I do communicate with them, but everything that's communicating about the transaction is coming from Tracy.
Particularly around the paperwork and the
Yeah.
documentation. Like, if there's like negotiation stuff that
That's
should
what I'm talking
happen,
about.
you should be speaking
Oh,
to, you should
yeah.
be speaking
So
to the agent. He does speak.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the paper. I think once you get to the paperwork, people
Yeah.
kind of expect and assume that. I'm talking about, I can't get the agent to respond to me. Like, do we have a
Yeah,
deal?
so-
Do we not have a deal?
so-
Where,
so-
what's
so-
going
Well,
on?
that's before the contract. You
Yeah,
haven't
before,
done it.
so yeah.
And that's a real tricky thing, right? Like when you're having 20, 30, 40 offers on the table. But here's a trick that we did that maybe, you mind if I?
Go ahead.
So what we did was, remember we were talking about Zapier, that tool that connects? So one of the problems you have, if you have 15 offers, how do you know which one fit? Huh?
Spreadsheet,
Spreadsheet, right? So who puts it in the spreadsheet?
the transaction coordinator.
I do it.
Yeah. So if you don't have a transaction coordinator, you're gonna have to do it yourself. Or what we did was we had a form for people to fill out.
Yeah.
As agents, we're gonna talk to you and everything, but I need you to fill out this form properly with the information and the form fields, and then upload your offer there. And what it does is it goes to a spreadsheet, so now I can see all the offers, all nice and pretty for me. And now you can just go in, and what Harrison usually does, he highlights green for the top on this one. Green. If you see a lot of greens across the board, that's probably your winner, right? But that's also for clients to say, hey, look, here are all of the, and this is instant, right? Like when you submit an offer, that's like instant gratification, because you don't have to wait till you get all the offers, and then you have to go through the spreadsheet, like, did I miss one? Or here are all the emails. Like that's all this like logistics, email, communication stuff. It just does it for you.
Yeah. You want to talk about getting your time back. You know, I'm so thankful to have an IT brain by my side, because one thing that he's always tried to implement was how do we keep time back, and implementing systems like that, the automation piece of it, and him really, because I don't know none of that, right? Him really understanding that and saying, hey, this is the best. We're talking about 10, when we were 2020, 10, 15, 20 offers on everything, and really getting your time back on that spreadsheet, going in there, looking at that and saying, hey, this is the top offer, and being able to communicate that to your client to move on to the next transaction is very helpful. And even on the buyer side, from when you're wanting to set up an appointment, if you want to set up an appointment, you fill out the job form, you fill out the calendar, you get on my schedule, automation, right? And it shoots back over to the calendar. And I think that's very important when you talk about systems and being able to deal with, 10 to 20 people and managing 10 to 20 personalities at a time, which I'm constantly doing. It's very helpful.
Because if I got to deal with 100 offers, right? Because that's literally possible. If you have 5 listings out, 3 to 5 listings out, you could have had 100 offers.
Yeah.
So like, there's got to be a little bit of some grace on the other side. I mean, I know like your client's important to you, but from the listing agent side, you're like, hey guys, you know what the market is. Give me a minute, okay? But there's responsibility on the listing agent to manage that. Meaning like, I'm gonna call everybody on Tuesday between 2 and 3 o'clock. So be ready, okay? Because I can't talk to y'all all at once. I got too much going on, like with all the different listings. But this time in this place, I will respond to you. And that's what most people want. Like, when are you gonna get back to me, right? They don't care if you like, you don't need an answer right now. Just let me know something so I can let my client know when you're gonna get back to me. I think that's really what we're looking for, like, as agents, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. I remember, I don't know who was here last year. We had James Nellis here, and he does something similar to what you all just described, specifically with multiple offers, where they created a jot form where if you want to submit an offer, you go through that jot form, which then transfers it and translates it into a spreadsheet, which organizes it. So it allows you that time back, but to be able to just assimilate it.
Well, and Bridget, if I may, we built a lot of systems originally to handle a high volume of buyer transactions and the high touch points. Like we thought about that, right? So we talked earlier about getting efficient with getting to the first appointment. And then Keith also created more systems with utilizing both showing agents and mercenaries that can help him in high volume times write offers using that same job form system, saying, hey, you've got access to our dot loop and back end. Here's our template that you follow. So I'm putting in the information to get an offer written and out. Our lenders also work prepared, excuse me, then reviewed and sent out. But then from the agent communication, this is something that's also kind of a superpower that he's developed and is like a sales communication thing. The rhythm of talking with listing agents to get them to know you're serious, to recognize your reputation, to say the right things to them, to convince them. Because what does a high volume listing agent want to know from a buyer agent? That if I'm going to take your deal, like it's going to get to the table, you're not going to bug me. Like I know what's going to happen. You have some validity. I can trust you. And it's not, and it's really tough because I just had a couple offers last night. So, and people, God bless them, they try. And I think they read a book and said, in order to get your offer accepted, you got to call the listing agent 12 times and ask 12 questions. It's like,
that makes me so mad.
And look, and I try to, and again, I'm president of our local, so I'm probably a little more patient and try to be thoughtful to, agents with their efforts. But also I'm like, can I give you some constructive criticism on what you're doing here? You didn't need to call me 10 times to say this. Like there's no new news. You send me the offer and it was good. And I will respond to you within 24 hours. Okay. And please tell your client that. I know you're excited. I know you're here and there. So the management of expectations and how you do it is something that we've all got slightly different approaches to. Yeah. But Keith is good from an outward facing communication to get buyers' offers accepted, to pepper them right before you see it, let them know what's going to happen, and deliver when he says he's going to deliver. And my lender can do this. My buyer is going to do this. We will get you an offer today that you're not going to be able to refuse. And again, speaking that language is something our next slide will talk about.
And I think part of it too, not to delay it, but part of it is like, we are in sales, right? So you have to sell the agent. You're not just selling, like you gotta sell the agent for yourself and the client. Because like these two are the opposites in that regard. He would not want to keep calling him, right? Like but Keith will get it done because the type of conversation and rapport that
I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about
emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Like he's really building that that rapport with the listing agent where it's tolerable for like someone like Harrison and other agents who might have like, if you only got 1 or 2 listings at a time, you're like, oh, okay, no big deal. Hey, man, I like you too. I did the other deal with you. You're great. Like you're able to like really bring that other stuff, that other magic in to help get the deal done. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm talking about there? Yeah.
Read the room.
Yeah, read the room.
You gotta read the room.
Yeah. But he will beat you into submission though. He will beat you into submission. Yeah.
But he delivered. I mean, that's the other thing. We have the evidence of success. And even as you're an individual agent building up your business, you got to like say what you're going to do, actually deliver it. And then when people know what you will deliver, a lot of the work is done even before we reach out, right? And that's another thing I joke and say, I don't like to leave listing card, listing agent say, leave a card in the listing. Because someone like texted me, like I learned a couple of years ago, like, oh, I saw your card in this listing. We coming correct. We coming strong. I was like, oh. Yeah, because we use showing time. Schedule, like the listing agent knows I'm there. I don't need to leave my trading card here. To
that point, like another quote unquote, short-term sacrifice for long-term success, like 2018, 2019, when I talked about like relationships and building relationships, like I tried to build relationships, and I actually got this from you, Harrison, like with as many agents as possible that I knew that were doing deals and was going to be around for the next 5 to 10 years, because I know there's going to be some times where, hey man, you remember the time we were, things of that nature. You told me about this. How are your kids doing? Did you go on this vacation this year? For that offer to get accepted, right? And I think that's very important to note, is that when you're calling somebody, you're looking them up. We have home shop in our area that we can go look up agents and, see the transaction, see where they're doing business at. We're kind of building that rapport in the first 2 years. Now, when they see my name come across, literally last night it just happened. He said, Keith, I looked you up. I see what you're doing. I remember you. I'm going to take your offer. Now it's not as hard. It can be difficult, but it's not as hard as many times as it was back.
Success begets success.
Exactly. Exactly.
For sure. Cool. So a couple more of the tips, and then we've got some like individual things we're going to share. But overall, how do we do it? We talked about culture, talked about attraction, collaboration, again, sharing and working together. Key hires. That's the other important part. To grow something big, you got to have important people. For us, because we were buyer heavy, it was a world-class, high-capacity, high-level transaction coordinator who worked well with us, communicated with us, and filled gaps. she was expensive, right? Like relative to what we pay in salary to admin staff, we have the mindset, we want to pay people as much as we can within our model and where it supports, right? Leading with revenue, but paying people as much as they can. That has been positive for us because we have both, you know, attracted and kept high-level talent as we've continued to grow. And we've had to stay in touch with them to provide them the correct support as we've grown more. So Ryan was really at the core of that. Like Keith and I, left to our own devices, would not have been able to hire and manage the admin folks. But that was Ryan's space. So we want to give a couple of sentences about the initial key hires.
Yeah, so initial key hire, we had someone we were just familiar with. She still went with our team today, but she was on another team and she was moving to Arizona, and they wanted their admin in-house, like in the office. And I was like, I don't care, right? Like, I don't need you to go to anybody's house, so you can do this from over there, right? She's like, yeah, I can do that. I was like, great. So she really helped. She was really instrumental in our initial like launch of the company to get us going. So we had the support we needed to go. And then after that, we brought on more people. How we found them, it was a mixture of, actually I found Tracy on Upwork because her agent was retiring and she needed she was like finding gigs to do.
She was in Boston, Massachusetts. She's not local. She thought bigger from a transaction and listing management high level standpoint. People can do that at a high level remotely. She's never lived in DC and she's managed over 800 buyer transactions.
So I was traumatized from my first hire when I was by myself in 2018. Or no, what 2020 was it 2017? 17 and 18. So I was getting in my rhythm. I was selling homes. I was breaking like, you know, whatever, 15 million, somewhere right there in volume. I hired somebody. And that was my second year in business. And it was a terrible hire. All hires I did they were terrible. Like terrible for them and terrible for me. Like both ways, right? Like we were just not good mixes. So I really learned from there. And at that point, one of the things I always tell people is like, try people out. So that's what I did from then on. Like everybody I think we had besides Chelsea, she came from a friend of ours that we all knew we were comfortable with. Besides her, we tried everybody out. So we were paying people per transactions from the beginning. And like, it's like, do you like her? It's like, yeah, I don't know, not this one, right? So, and they was like, yeah, let's try them out. No, this one's great. This is gonna be good. Like, we want her to do more. So that all of our initial hires, the first hire after Chelsea was Tracy, who was our buyer transaction coordinator. And then the second one was our listing manager, right? So we just did it in that order because we were a heavy buyer and then more listing, going to grow our listings. So those are the two main hires we did. And then the third hire after that, and in all of these cases too, I would say like beat somebody in submission, like our ISA beat us into submission. She like called me, so she called me for over a year.
Yeah.
Follow up, and I was like, I guess, man. I was like I just got tired of picking up the phone and telling her no again, right? Like she just beat me in the submission. So I had to hire her. Like I had to hire her. So we hired her, and she was one of the reasons we were able to grow that 19 to 20 year because she followed up with all of our database. So when people say ISAs, they think there's like a kind of a certain like stigma around it on what they do, but it's really just anyone that's helping you generate more business is how I look at it. That's kind of like on your staff. So she took our current database and she, for example, right, the best thing that she did, we had all these events. We have quarterly events, and these are big events, a couple hundred people, a few hundred people, right? She would do an 8x8 before, basically an 8x8 on the events. So she would call, text, email all the people we invited to the events, and then same thing afterwards, right? So the first one was for the invite, and the second part was thanks for coming or sorry you couldn't make it, right? And that's the reason why we got a couple dozen deals out to each event.
She was so good, people were coming to the events
looking for her. But she didn't, again, it's because she didn't live there. She lives in California. So I say live in California. We had one admin live in Arizona, one live in Boston, one lives in Maryland, but she lives in like Frederick, Maryland. So she was like up, she couldn't just pop down anytime she wanted to. We hired somebody from Florida that didn't work out. Like there's some other things, like we were just like, wherever, I don't care where talent is. Like if you're good, like you're gonna be good, we'll work with you.
And he saw that before the pandemic though.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the tech space, so like we never cared where anybody was. Like if you were good, you're good, you know. So like, and I was like, why would we not? Unless you're a runner, or unless you are some type of listing coordinator that has to go to the house. Why do I care where you live?
That's it. Yeah, so key hires, that was an important part, getting those right people in place, training them up, continuing to support. Scaling was an important part of it. Like you have those initial hires, you're continuing to assess, look at our revenue. We had a bookkeeper too, that was someone I worked with initially, that has then helped us kind of look at our money from initially a quarterly basis. Now we moved it up to a monthly basis to see where things are at. What can we afford to pay our people? What can we plan and project for our profit, for the profit share with our team members, keep them motivated to know what they're gonna make. Because people have different motivations, and Ryan taught me this. My first admin hire, again, helped me get to those like 50 or so units, but saw what we were trying to build and was like, oh, hell no, I don't want that. Like, that's way too big. And I'm like, but you're gonna make more money, right? Like in my head, I'm like, you don't want more money? No. But that's another lesson when you're looking at administrative staff. As salespeople, it's hard to understand different folks' motivations. And Ryan was really good with helping me understand and think critically about like what motivates and what are the different things that matter to different people. And our coach now, like mine and Ryan's coach, really digs into our DISC profiles. And it's something KW has talked about for years. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a high I, I'm a high D, or, you know, whatever, I'm a high I and C. But when you are managing and leading people, knowing that is like the most important thing you can do for anybody that is in your world and you're working with consistently, because you got to know how to communicate with them. You got to know what their like motivation and buttons are. And then leaning into our strengths is the last piece that like really helped us grow and how we did it. It was knowing that the different places we were going to generate business, although it was all kind of similar, generating from our sphere and the people that we know, how we get to them is a little bit different. And also looking at the new folks we bring into the organization, what are their strengths and how do we like build infrastructure around to support them to go out and be great, but still do it kind of within this box and within this proven formula of success that we've got. So there's a lot of different ways you can get to success. I'm excited with the idea that as we continue to give presentations like this, there will be additional kind of tabs added. But like, I think that's kind of a key part to our formula. Is there anything else I wanted to share about kind of how we did it thus far? No, I think that's good. Cool.
Do you have a coach?
I do. My coach is Jen Davis out of Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your coach?
Shannon Steer, she's KW based in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas, sure.
Yeah. And that's Ryan's same coach. We've hired her to help lead our team through the 12-week year, which is basically accountability, tracking numbers, just another body to help us weekly talk about what's going on, what the activities are. Okay, so the next couple slides are just us. And the idea is to give about 20 minutes or so with this, and then open it up for questions and hang out. But talking about some specific things that have helped us find success. We've touched on quite a few of them.
Yeah.
When I say KJ, that's Keith James, talking about his secret sauce in terms of being that sales driver and doing things at a higher level than a lot of other folks. So Keith, I listed these up here and I'll kind of treat it like questions, but a little bit about your corporate training background. Give me like 2 sentences about how that has helped you think about the sales cycle and being a good realtor.
Yeah. So when I started with 3M, mainly what they do, they bring you in to Minnesota, where headquarters are, and they teach you how to talk to people. They teach you the language of sales. They teach you how to find out what motivates people, right? So that helps speed up the sales cycle very well. Also with that, when you're talking to buyer clients, how that translates into real estate is when I'm talking to buyer clients, you know, most of the time they come to me with where they want to be, you know, price point, bedroom, bath, things of that nature. I'm able to place them very quickly and talk to them and help find out what motivates them to speed up that sales cycle.
In the first buyer consult, that was one of the first things that when we got together, shared was, and I think I did the presentation here, that Close 50 Buyers presentation a couple of years ago, like going through our buyer consult and having a really high level and good relationship building buyer consult. I had a template, Ryan tweaked it a little bit more to improve, Keith tweaked it even more to improve, and the efficiency with which he delivers it, like he leaves that appointment a lot of times. They've signed, they're connected with a lender. Sometimes they've talked to a lender before and their appointment to go look at stuff and their plan to go look at stuff is in place. Like the only way you can sell that many more homes is making every interaction as efficient as possible so that the next time y'all are doing something, they're out looking and most likely seeing only a few homes and under contract.
Because you can only really hold so many people at one time. And like that, everyone has a max, right?
Yeah.
But if you turn them faster, then, you know, like if I only hold 5 people, it takes me a month. If he holds 5 people, it takes him a week. He can do 20 in a month, or I can only do 5 in a month. Right?
Yeah, and a lot of that came from the first consultation. I used to spend a lot of time, Ryan used to be on to me about it, but I spent a lot of time in that initial buyer consultation learning about them, you know, not just about the process, but when we talk about secret sauce, learning about their lives, like making them feel like, hey, I really care about you, not just about real estate, but lifestyle and wealth building. Like I want to understand what's your main focus, what do you care about? And so I can bring you to my world because we're not just a transactional company. I talked about it in the beginning. My grandmother, she fed everybody in the neighborhood. All the kids I played with, she fed. And I feel like once you come into Coalition, you should be treated like family.
Like all of our grandmas. That's the thing we like specifically, like my grandma, Grady, Alabama, all day. When I was hanging with her in the summer, she would have some biscuits, some rice, fried chicken, collard greens cut, froze, ready, and seasoned. All you gotta do is heat them up. There would always be people just stopping by. And her name is Annie Pearl, God bless her soul. She would come, people just come through and be taken care of. Like that was the energy we all grew up seeing. And that's what we like. And
I'm getting chill bumps thinking about that. That's the one-to-many relationships right there. It is. Because when you're in the consultations, like I have clients, I meet with them, we have consultations. They'll start referring me business before they close. And the quickest way to close somebody is to close their friend before they close.
Yeah.
Say that right now, right?
Sure.
And that's kind of where I learned that one-to-many relationship. And that comes into creating raving fans. When we're creating raving fans, that's really what we care about and how we build our business.
Yeah. So you talked about the one-to-many, again, being a thoughtful person that's connected. You are managing the relationship, you're delivering, you're following up. They know the value, they feel the value. And I think that and the creating raving fans is connected. I know the experience that we deliver, like when we actually help them buy the house is important, but the culture and community, that's a part of it. They want their friends to be a part of it.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about the raving fans that bring you more fans.
Yep. So I bought my first house when I was 23 years old. And I always tell that story of buying investment properties. I think I had a total of like 10 properties right before I even got into the real estate sales business. So immediately I'm telling them, hey, when I left corporate America, I lost money because I didn't know how to manage money because I never had money. And I'm being very transparent with them, right? And so when we talk about building relationships and really honing in on like mindset and being critical about what they think about, you have to break down barriers. They have to open up to you, right? And the only way they're going to open up to you is if you're transparent to them, which is very important. And so by doing that, creating that raving fan, people share my story, right? They share my story and they want to come be a part of it because we don't just have, real estate services. I can connect you to a financial planner. I can connect you to mentors, like really being the bridge. That's the passion. Be the bridge to help people get to where they want to go, right? Mission, be the bridge to our community for all things real estate, lifestyle, and wealth building. So they want that. They want those connections. And that's have allowed people to refer us like crazy and create those raving fans.
When they come to us with questions for stuff outside of real estate, that's kind of the more exciting part, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to Minnesota, man. Who you know in Minnesota? Who should I connect with? Like people, when we've built relationships to the point where they ask those questions. At first, I was like,
for restaurants, for
I have over 200-300 restaurant lists in my phone across the world. If you going, I tell my clients, if you go anywhere, you're taking vacation, hit me up first, because I want to be able to connect you to the finest restaurants in that area. And
we find, and like short anecdote, like I went to England, was it last month?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
No lie, my first date, me and my wife walk outside, we start walking around, someone said, hey, you a Coalition? And I look and it's like, yeah, how can I help? I don't know. It was like, oh, we're clients. So found our clients is Keith's direct client in England on the first day that I met. That's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
All over the world, I literally run into Coalition clients. Like all over US, all over Europe, and South America, I've run into Coalition clients like everywhere we go. So it's like a community and like people feel connected to be a part of it.
You want to talk about showing up everywhere. That's
yeah. And then I also think one of the things like there's three parts to this. There's three parts to this, and I'm just going to verbalize like what Keith is doing on some of this, right? You need a plan for your clients, and so we always have a plan for the clients. And when we say this, like it becomes transactional if it's only one transaction. But if we help our clients build out a plan to buy 3, 4, 5 properties, So they're tied to us now for the next 5, 10 years, right? Because they have to stick to the plan. It's like, look, we're gonna build a wealth plan for you, not just to buy a real estate home.
Say that in that first meeting.
We say that in our consultations. But it's true though. We're not just saying it just to say it. We literally put a plan in place. Like, this is what you're gonna do first. This is what you're gonna do second. This is what you're gonna do third. So they have a plan for them, right? And then again, the emotional inspiration, like everyone's connected to emotion. Like people say business, like they're pulled to your why. So when they know your story and when you're able to communicate your story in a way that resonates with your clients, they're gonna stay with you more. It's not that you're like, you can be the best realtor in the world, but if you're not connected with your people, it's gonna be transactional. So we're like, it's inspiring your people to be better than what they are to continue on their journey, right? And then the last thing you want to do is provide opportunities. So when we talk about opportunities, those are the connections, right? That's the ability to do these things that you probably wouldn't be able to do or not do as well without us. Right? So when you have opportunities, when you have inspiration, and when you have a plan, like that's really sticky.
Combination of secret sauce. And then the last is kind of speaking that language is success. We talked about it earlier, but specifically to communities and individuals that didn't know that this was possible, right? And again, we talked about it being kind of young Black men and the state of America and how, people of color have not had access to the same information. But there's also, folks from rural America. I mean, there's humans that don't know how money works. It's a lot of people. So if you can be the conduit that speaks the language, explains to them how it works, breaks down big concepts into actionable steps, even if the folks don't end up doing it, if you've shown them that roadmap and you took a little bit of extra time to speak that possibility to them, that's the super powerful part. Quick anecdote, we had a client that was using a DC program, very little cash out of pocket, right? Very struggling to find a house to do it. We fought hard to the point of calling the city, like using our contacts to help get that deal closed. Her relationship, she had an aunt or an uncle or someone that had an off-market deal that ended up being one of our biggest listings ever because we showed up and helped that person for a really difficult deal, low price point, a lot of effort, not a great return on investment of our time, but we showed up and spoke that language of here's how we're going to help you and support you. It turned into one of the biggest opportunities we had initially, right?
And they come to every party, the entire family comes to
Grandma,
every party.
all the folks.
And you guys don't know this, she just got her license and now she's in our downline.
Yeah, you're right. That's just showing up in every way.
Yep.
So that's
When I see a check.
So that's a piece of Keith's secret sauce. The next kind of individual share is Ryan's conversations about wealth building. This is something he's really leaned into, sharing more recently. He's got an awesome class, as he mentioned before, which again, Bridget, bring him back, 100 units in 1 calendar year. He was able to purchase through some different strategies. So Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about how your wealth building education has helped us grow?
Yeah, so be a bridge to our community for all things real estate, lifestyle, and wealth building, right? So I really take that when we talk about the plan, it was about educating, both. And I look at this as this way. The reason why I kind of took this mantle up, if you will, I looked around and I saw the people I really wanted to help. And there was kind of 3 groups, right? One was my family and friends, right? You want to help them. You want to help people close to you. I wanted to help my clients. Of course, I want them to make more money and do better. And I wanted to help my peers, like not just these peers, but my realtor peers, right? And so it's like a lot of us, we're so heavy into the business and the day-to-day that we don't always do the wealth building things that we want to do for ourselves. And I was like, that made me really sad. I wanted to help people like achieve their goals as well. And so what that looked like is, like I mentioned before earlier, I lost a bunch of money. I was flipping and stuff like that. And I don't think the flip's bad or anything inherently, but it can put you in a situation if you don't have the skill set, the resources, or the mind frame, like your safety net to really make it happen. And so I went from doing that and I came back and every house I sold, eventually I had like 2 houses left. I sold my last one. And I'll just take you through like the transactions, how it happened, right? So I had down to 1 home, the home I lived in, right? Home I bought, the first home, best investment I ever made. And so I cashed out refi when, this market is crazy. I still had a 2 and some % loan. My home, I bought it for $380. It's worth $700K now, right? That's just DC home, so there's nothing special. That's how it works in our city. And so I was able to take a little bit of money and I bought a second home down in Norfolk, Virginia, near the beach. Right, you guys know where that. Like, I think you can come straight down pretty much and go right down there, right? So I'm down in Norfolk, Virginia, 2-minute walk from the beach, like not the beach side, but just like the other side of the beach. And then I took that home and then I turned that to a short-term rental. Then I made some money off of that. And then after that, while that was going on, I really got into multifamily. I said, where can I go in real estate? There's so many different ways you can make money, right? Where can I go in real estate where my skill sets and my talent can be best used? And I realized just even from Coalition, the bigger we got, the more valuable I became. So like managing the chaos and the number of people. So I was like, I guess it's got to be pretty big, right? so while that was going on, I bought a 68-unit apartment building. I said, I'm going to buy multifamily. And then like within about 4 to 6 weeks, I was under contract for 68 units. So I've like made a decision. I did a lot of prep and education, like a condensed version. Like I can get pretty intense. So like I'm doing what they call underwriting. So I'm like doing calculators for these deals, different types of deals every day, right? Like a couple times a day. Like I'm just like really into it. And I was like, all right, I think I'm all right. I found some partners that I wanted to partner with. And then I found a deal. I said, hey, I think this is a deal. He's like, I don't know, man, I don't know. And then he's like, hey man, I think this is a deal. And I was like, yeah, I told you that already, right? So that was the first deal. And then, so I found a deal. I helped with the underwriting, but he was just more skilled with that. He's already bought hundreds of units before, right? And then after that, we had to raise money from friends and family. So these Harrison and Keith are both owners in this deal, and other peers in the real estate space, family members and everything like that. And it's been performing well. They get a check every month. We all get a check every month. And it's cool, right?
And a tax break as well.
And because you're a real estate professional, right? You get accelerated depreciation, cost segregation. I'm not sure you're familiar with those terms, but you should write it down right now, right? Accelerated depreciation and cost segregation should do those on all your real estate properties. That reduces your taxable income, right? So yeah, so that happened. And then after that, I started buying more. After that, I bought a 15 unit in Norfolk. And after that, I bought a 22 unit portfolio in Baltimore. And I got a 100 unit under contract right now. So like it's accelerating, right? And just really buying more property. So that's just kind of like the overall sense of what that does. And what that has allowed us to do to say, at some point, our clients are probably don't want to buy more houses, right? Some of them want to buy homes, but at some point you're like, you know what, I'm good, man. I got 2 or 3. It's $1.5 million worth of real estate. I think I'm all right with this, but I want to still make more money, just more passively, right? And so then that's when we are creating these opportunities for our clients to make more money, because otherwise, what are you going to do? This is going to sit there. So like, how can we continue to bring value to our clients? And that's really what that was.
And it was the vision that he had before to like see an opportunity, even though it was something that he had not done before at a high level. This is the same energy he brought to help us grow initially. Who are the people already doing it, right? What can you bring to the table, which is the relationships, the people that are hungry, the people that got money, right? You go out and find the deal. That's where that marriage happens. And again, my limiting belief was like, I don't want to buy 100 units. Who the hell? I don't know how to do that, Ryan. Why do I want to do that? I'm afraid I'm going to lose my money, Ryan. I don't want to try that. He's like, no, a lot of people do this at a high level. And guess what? We can do this even better. And he said that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I trust you. And for real, I was like, I don't know how this works really, but I trust you and thank you.
Yeah.
And that's been with a lot of things that, you know, he's continued to drive, and having somebody in your world that has that mindset, I think is a really important part about wealth building, because it's about managing risk and understanding your tolerance, what you're able to do and what you can do by not taking action. That's the powerful thing that he's been thinking about. By just sitting on my money and what is comfortable and not taking any risk, that is actually losing in some cases, especially with inflation going where it is.
Yes.
So that's where, you know, we employ, if you get nothing else out of today, the wealth building conversation is something that realtors need to be much better versed in, because lack of action, right, can actually be losing people money in this economy we're moving into. And we're extremely passionate about like telling people that message, that understanding your risk profile, understanding what you have, understanding what your money can do is so powerful, because if you do nothing, there's potential loss.
Some people cannot afford, you can't afford not to do it.
Yeah. Because I mean, you don't want to look back and fear and laziness was the reason you didn't do things you wanted to do in your life. Like those are two like very powerful like negative impactors, and that's not when you want to look back. Man, I was just scared of everything, or like, man, I just like kept procrastinating and everything, and I really should have done it because it was more important. I didn't make it a priority.
And look, there's a lot of reasons, like money is a powerful emotional trigger for a lot of folks, right? And there's so many things connected to how you spend money, how you think about spending money. Again, if we can be people that help them navigate that, like first kind of own that emotion first, but then give them tools and break down the actions, that's of course going to equal more transactions and opportunity for us as salespeople. But think about how it's going to improve those folks' lives and how excited they're going to be to help bring even more people into your world.
Because you know how many times you probably played therapist to your clients, right? Like that's a really talking
yesterday.
about.
I saw her face. I saw her face.
She did it this morning. I can tell. She looked up. She's like, I did it.
Yeah.
So we are those people to talk to, right? About like sometimes we're the only people that they actually had like legitimate, honest conversations about money with. Not with their family, not with their husbands or wives, like nobody. The first time they actually have to bear this honesty and all the emotional triggers that come with it. And that's a responsibility and a humbling like position to be in as a realtor.
Cool. So the last slide is about me and leadership and the other ways that I have thought and leveraged volunteering and showing up. For one, because it poured into me and it was what I enjoyed. It all comes back to us throwing awesome parties and creating experiences for our peers at the time in college. Then early on into real estate, I had a DJ business. So I was DJing at night, and I would even leverage when I would like DJ weddings. I would make a little presentation that I would mail the bride and groom's father, like parents, bride and groom's mother and father on both sides, saying, thank you so much for the opportunity to DJ your kid's wedding. Here's my real estate business card. If I did a great job at your wedding, I'd love to help you with some real estate transactions at some point. And guess what? Especially for the nicer wedding, I knew mom and dad had some cash to help the kids buy a house. And it worked, right? But it was because I had a great experience for my peers where I was connected. How could I leverage that? And again, it started with showing up in a positive way. How could I leverage that, remind them of what I did to encourage them to reach out to me for other things? So I am, like I said, president of the Greater Capital Area Association of Realtors for this 22 calendar year. That's been about an 8-year journey of starting out with just being on committees, to being a committee leader, to being on the board of directors. And now it's a 13,000 person association that I'm in charge of for a calendar year. And it's a lot of time. And my partners are so gracious with helping pick up the slack because it's a lot of time. But that one-to-many relationship that Keith talked about, it's translating the activity, thoughts, and efforts into influence, right? And what does influence actually look like in a positive way? If you've got good ideas, if you're out in the field doing a lot of things, how can I help all of the folks in our market actually do better and be better? So that helps consumers and that helps us, right? It's been one of the most exciting parts of my life. It's made my world bigger in both a relationship standpoint and some of the things I've learned. KW has an advantage over some other brokerage models because of Mega Camp and Family Reunion. We get the opportunity to go places and meet agents from all over the world. NAR is another pillar of that for me, where I'm getting connected with folks that do business in different places, and they have great ideas. Their willingness to share with me and for us to collaborate about what we do. Some of the stuff we implement with Coalition today are things that I've learned from the different folks I got to connect with through my association of volunteer leadership. So again, if you have space for it in your heart, mind, and brain and legs, definitely pour in and look at NAR as another circle to work with and to learn and grow. It needs more people. As an organization, needs more salespeople. It needs more people that think not just transactionally, but like about relationship and growing. And for me, it was about shifting that focus from just me to what we could do as an organization and larger community. I was getting back a lot by giving of my time. I was embracing being voluntold. I had a couple people in my life that were like, hey, you should come and try this. It's a good idea. And I'm like, what do I say? No, why? Like, that's my first answer. But then when I show up, I see the people, I see the connections, and I see that it's worth it. And also opening myself up to different circles. Something else Ryan has been really good with helping me think about better as a team is if we want to grow from a unit standpoint, how am I going to talk to people I don't know yet, right? Like 14 years into business, pretty much everybody that knows me at some level knows that I do this. But I need them to tell their friends, and I need strangers to get in touch with me as well. A million different ways you can do it. A legitimate pillar is showing up in volunteer leadership to get to know people in different cities, states, and towns. They send referrals your way, and it's a layup. You don't have to work for the business once it's sent to you. Like referrals, it's probably about 25% of my business are out-of-state referrals, and they're all price points. So like if you show up in volunteer leadership, you will get referrals at a high level coming back to you, and they only compound over time. And then making your world bigger. I always say nothing bad happens when you make your world bigger, both from an education and learning standpoint, from what you can experience, but also from the people you can help and the folks that can be added to your database, added to your connections, because you never know where that kind of tree of opportunities and connections goes. There's a million freaking acronyms, like, but that's just basically state, local, and national level. I do a lot of leadership stuff and will continue to, just because it is both fun to me, but it also, you know, it is my opportunity to leave a lasting impact and legacy and build relationships in a fun way. So that's us. Oh, and I did leave a slide in here to talk about our parties with a purpose. I wanted to pause because we're coming up on the end of our presentation to answer questions, but we throw awesome parties. We are always connecting them to some type of nonprofit. So we're always either raising money, awareness, collecting things, getting people to sign up. Like there's never an opportunity where we gather folks where we don't also connect it to something else. We were strategic in our last event for our 3-year anniversary party. It was Women's Month in March. So there was a nonprofit in DC that helped women you know, struggling with addiction, abuse, and a bunch of other things. We raised almost $5 grand for them and got people to sign up and go volunteer at their organization as well. So as you do client events, as you do anything that gathers people together, always plug in. And we get this, it was Red Day last week. So this is the culture we know, but I encourage everybody here to build that into your organization because it matters, it's important, and the connections and relationships you make through giving back will bring you back a lot to yourself. So that's part of the purpose. In the future, where are we going next? We're continuing to grow. Ryan has an ambitious and thoughtful growth plan for the agents that we need to welcome into our world to hit our unit count numbers. We are planning an ownership conference, which is a kind of a different idea of collecting resources for owners of property. Like so we've had the home buyer seminars, we've had home seller seminars, but we really want to talk about how people can leverage ownership to do a lot of different things. And there'll be parties with it too, which will be fun. Bigger investments in terms of buying even more multifamilies that Ryan is passionate about, inviting us in to participate, having our own space as either mega agent office, separate building where we can operate out of and generate revenue from a business standpoint, and replacing ourselves. We do not want to be selling real estate forever. I mean, we each have kind of different timelines that we will actually be in the business and serving, but we're looking at both our current organization, who we're in business with, and just the people that are around us to see who we can invite in and who will be a good fit to kind of steward this entity to whatever the next iteration of it will be. You have anything you want to say about our future? Anything else?
Oh, I think that's great.
Keith, what you think about the future, man? What's up next?
Let Ryan lead the way.
This is a group effort for sure.
So yeah, man, that is Coalition. That's our story. We're so grateful for the chance to share it and talk with you. And we can you know, hang out to answer questions or whatever else you like. But thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. So we had a question on our chat. So that the question was something you had mentioned earlier about two primary metrics that you track for the agents on your team.
Yes.
What were they?
Appointments and pendings.
Appointments and pendings. Okay. Hopefully, Jordan was the one that asked that. So.
Oh, I knew that.
Jordan.
He's mine.
Appointments and pendings.
He's mine. Jordan's mine.
He's mine.
So two questions that I have for you. So in the room and on Zoom, we've probably got a variety of folks in here. Some people lead a team, some people are on a team, and then there are some agents that are solo.
Yep.
And each of you all were solo agents, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Before you three came together.
Yes. Yes.
So if I am an agent and I am a solo agent, what would you recommend right today in this market? What should I be focusing on? Maybe I don't want to do 300 transactions, but I want to get to 25 to 30. Maybe I did 10 to 12 last year and I want to do 25 to 30. What would be some suggestions, recommendations that you would give to me? Do I hire an assistant? Do I get a coach? Like what do I buy leads?
Well, I believe in coaching no matter what level you're in, right? Like I came in with coaching through
I had one. Let me talk to that.
Yeah, what's the coaching when you first come
Pam
in?
O'Brien.
Pam O'Brien. No.
Like productivity coaching?
Yeah, so like literally day one, I started productivity coaching. And if you're not doing like a dozen to 15 deals, you need to go directly to productivity coaching for sure. And you probably need to do that probably till you're like almost 24 deals. I would probably say somewhere around there. And then after that, there's MAPS group coaching. So I literally just went down they said, this is what you do. And then I just did it. Like, but if you're not generating a couple dozen deals, there's usually one main reason. You're not doing enough activities at that point. So just period. You're not putting enough time and energy in like one lane. So I know what happened when I came in. I was like, well, let me try. So I wanted to try everything first to see what I liked. And that's good and bad, right? Like, but I was like, all right, let me try. So I did. I mean, I cold called. I did door knocking. I did open house. I literally went the gambit, right? And then I finally kind of lean into a couple that I like this is what I'm gonna do. And when other people brought other things, I was like, I don't want to hear it. I'm just doing this, right? And so if you're not doing 20, when you're not hitting those like 2 a month kind of thing, that's usually because you're not doing enough focused activity in the lead gen pillars that you have committed to.
And I would say if you are doing 25 units, to just double down on what's working. A lot of times, remember when I was a solo agent, I would come to Ryan and say, hey man, I want to try this. And he would say, well, why do you want to do that? You're already successful in this lane. So just continue to do that at a high level.
Do more,
right? And so also figuring out what type of agent you want to be. Do you want to grow? What is a good life for you? If 25 is a good life, then that's fine. If you do want to double down on that and grow to 40 and 50 activities.
In what you're doing with that.
Yeah, and what you're going to do that.
And being clear about your numbers too. Like I had both a bookkeeper early to help me understand profit. Because that's the other conversation about joining a team. Like there's people that say, I get excited about being an individual agent and doing all these things, but the more units you do, unless you are superhuman or a robot, you're going to need some help and you're going to have cost of sale at some point. So how much money do you actually keep in your pocket? Like we got a culture in real estate that talks about volume, right? And even GCI is the top number. What's the check coming into your pocket? So that's why some situations, looking at being as a part of the team has to be able to articulate to you how much money do you take home, right? And does the split or whatever the agreement you have with them, what's left over, what you're taking home actually equal what you need to not just live comfortably, but hopefully to thrive? And are you supported in that? So the teams are not for everybody, period. I think a team can help with folks that need culture and support and models to follow directly. But for some folks that are individual drivers and have a good motor and good consistent things going, they just need to double down on those and get somebody to help them track what they're doing to get better at it and track their money, track their numbers. Because individual agents fall into traps, I think, of spending too much money on crap that's not getting a return, or being enamored by the big numbers of a team or organization and not fully owning what they will actually end up taking home when they're a part of it, or what opportunities and being a part of that team will create. So I think individual agents got to decide at the core it's activity, period, and then coaching and having somebody else look at what you're doing that knows. And in the KW model, you have between team leaders, assistant team leaders, productivity coaches, people whose wealth you determine. If they make money when you make money early on, they should be willing to have a conversation with you about how to help you make more. Period. Absolutely.
I think also so leads, listing, leverage, that triangle right there. So then you start with your leads. That means you haven't gotten enough leads. Once you start getting listings, buyer listings or seller listings, then at that point you should be leveraging off any paperwork. I don't think an agent should do any transaction management. I just don't believe you should do it. And so, early on, I from right away, right? And I'm like what do you call a profit guy? Meaning I find my profit on who I'm listening to and follow them. So early on, my coach is do not do transaction management. You're not good enough. you suck. You get transaction management. Go sell some real estate. Okay. And I said, fair enough. I did it one time. And I was like, this is terrible. Why am I doing this? I'm not good at this. And I thought I was, but I was like, I'm gonna be good at this, coach. Don't worry, I got this. But yeah, you should get leverage on the transaction management side.
When revenue.
I think there's also an order to so I think there's an order to your leverage. Your first order should be get off the transaction management paperwork, right? The second should be get your listing management off. Because some people all right, yeah, you got the transaction, but I'm gonna prep everything because I'm really good at that. And I think yeah, put your eye on it, but you should probably try to leverage the listing preparation, listing comments, all that stuff. Like you should probably try to leverage that off, right? The third thing you should leverage off is calendar management. So most people try to go to ISAs right after that, but like, ISA is just someone that helps you set appointments. And if I go to a seminar, right, and I get 20 leads from them, I'm probably not going to be the best to set those appointments, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah. So if you can get someone, whether that's a system in the beginning with like, hey, I'm gonna send you my link calendar or whatever, or if there's someone that just helps you set appointments that actually just literally put them in your calendar. So you can collect information so you can show up. Like that's, to me, that's the proper order of leverage you need to use. If you do that, you can go really far. You can do 50, 60 deals that way if you like do that order of leverage.
He's super lean.
So what do you say to me when I say, yeah, but I want to keep number one, I want to keep every penny and I don't want to spend the money to pay the transaction coordinator. Secondly, no one's going to do it better than me because I'm a control freak and I want to manage it all.
Yeah, I would say that.
Because I hear that every day.
Yeah, I think if someone can do it better, well,
Not for me.
I mean, because I'm about to say, are you really the best one? Like, you really believe that? You really believe that all these people that literally do administration every day, that you as an agent are better than them? And I mean, it's an honest question. Now, if you give me the honest answer, yes, I'd probably say you probably should be an admin.
Yeah. And I think that's a good
You can make a lot of money being a high level admin.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
You're in the wrong profession.
Yeah, you're in the wrong profession. If that's your best skill, you're in the wrong profession.
And respectfully, Bridget, I'll say then you haven't hit your ceiling yet, right? If you're looking to actually make real money, you're gonna hit a ceiling. I hit one where, yes, early on I did all this stuff. I was cheap. It was 2008. I'm broke. I wasn't cheap. I was broke. There's a difference, right? I didn't have the money, and I couldn't conceptualize, cost of sale. There is money in every transaction that you have to carve off. Like that's just how it works. I didn't know that. I'm like, no, I want this whole check. Oh wait, Uncle Sam, I gotta pay taxes later. Oh, surprise, right? Until people have reached that ceiling. So I'm of the mind like, oh, you can go do it all. Go ahead, do it all. Then go ahead, do it all. What are you actually making? What are you keeping? How's your quality of life? Right? And how does that actually translate to that end number you want to make? You want to make this much money and keep this much money. What is the quality of life that translates to?
You're not tired enough yet.
And again, we balance, and especially right now for what we took, we tired as hell. We are tired as hell right now.
Take it.
There's a lot happening in our world. The abundance of blessing is a double-edged sword, right? It's a lot of things, but I feel like anyone that says that is vehement about their ability to handle and do it all, they're not doing enough. I know that right away.
You guys know Gene Rivers? You ever heard of this guy?
Yeah, I did his class multiple times. Yeah.
And Gene was one of my early prophets. I don't mean like in a biblical sense, but I'm using the word to say like I looked up
prophet,
to this
PH, not FIT.
PROFIT.
I mean, Gene Rivers, you might as well go both ways.
Yeah,
You
but
might
he's
look
a
prophet and
legend, right?
prophet.
He's a legend, right? And Gene said, look, Ryan, he didn't say it to me directly. I felt like Ryan, this is for you. He draws a pie on the thing, right? And then he draws a line right down, not a circle, right? And then he draws a line. He said, when you're a solo agent, this side is sales and this side is admin, right? And you spend half your time doing admin work and the other half doing sales. He's like, that's a terrible idea. You should probably cut that down, right? Like on the admin side, because your dollar per hour is lower. So if you're talking to them, you say, well, how much do you make? How much does an admin make, right? You make 20, 30, 40. I mean, it depends. We pay our pretty well. But like, they're making this an hour. Now, how much does the sales agent make, right? It's like 10x, right? So do you want to spend time doing 10x money, like work, or you want to spend time doing like 1/10 of that work? But yeah, like that half, I was like, man, I didn't believe it. I was like, this is not gonna take me half my time. And I was like, it's true. Like it happened. It took me half the time.
When I fell into the trap of being busy and I'm like, I got all the activity. I emailed the title company. I called this. I set this up. I sent the calendar and I did like all that list of 180 things the agent does. It can feel good. And again, we have a cultural misalignment and not misalignment anymore. I think
we have a variety of opinions.
We have a variety of a lot of opinions. I think an agent should know and understand all of those tasks. I don't think they need to do them all with their hands. And that's something as entrepreneurs, we are so confident. And so I'm a self-starter. I do it all myself. I need to touch it all myself. And I thought that at one time until I was like, I'm tired as hell. I'm doing a bad job at it. And my dollar per hour, the best use of my time, the highest and best use of my time, not just for me, but then for my wife and my baby and my friends and the people I want to see, is to not be in physically touching it. And folks believe that though until they have felt it. So.
But it doesn't even matter if you do a bad job at it, because I don't do a bad job at it. I'm actually really good at it, but I shouldn't be doing it because my better time is actually selling.
Yeah.
I'm better at that.
Revenue generated.
Period. Yes, yes. As long as I'm doing this, I'm actually not making money. Period.
So did you buy leads? Did you buy leads?
One pillar now that Ryan has. Initially, no. With the initial model, no. But as you're
Still
still
no.
dials. What did I say?
That's not violence.
It's not lead, that's paying for
Opinions, guys.
It shows, so I don't touch that part.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, there's not. We don't have Zillow leads or actually, I apologize. We just started this internet leads, but we're not.
Like pay-per-clicks.
Yeah, pay-per-clicks.
There you
Yeah,
go, 'cause that's what we do.
Yeah, because pay-per-clicks. It's not like, hey, you send me the lead or whatever. I mean, Zillow stuff and all that stuff anyway, right?
Yes.
So we don't have Realtor.com or Zillow, but we have Facebook lead advertising.
Facebook,
Then we
Google,
get leads. So there's a cost associated with it, but
it's a fraction.
yeah, I wouldn't call it. To me, that's not paying for leads. That's a little different.
Mhm.
That's advertising.
Yeah.
And Yelp, I was an early, like 2009, 10, I got grandfathered into like the cheapest Yelp boost, which helps keep other people off my page when they search for my name. Like if you don't pay them and you go search, Keith James Realtor, then my name would actually pop up ahead of his name on his page if you don't do it. But Yelp, they all have minutia, and there's a way to game them all. But for us in the review space, which is where I started, like the only thing I paid for was making it easier when people searched for realtors in our area for me to come up towards there to queue up more opportunities for them to call me. So Yelp has been one, but I don't pay the top tier. I don't do anything extra. It's just, we get people to leave us reviews on Google and there, so that when they're searching for realtors or searching for us, it's social proof, and it is helping strangers have us be third-party validated. Mm-hmm.
What is your agent training look like? Are all the agents you have in your team right now come in trained already how to do real estate? Or do you have any brand new agents, just got my license? What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's evolving. Yeah. Initially, it was really just shadow. Like took the Gary Keller approach to new people is like, just have that person shadow you, and they're gonna see how it works, right? And with Isaiah, and you can tell when someone had a lot of personal attention from our team, like Isaiah was our first agent, was his first agent that was grandfathered into the team, and he's our best agent, but he spent like a lot of one-on-one time. Yeah, he's only help to him.
So what happens if Isaiah gets a listing? He's brand new, has a listing. What did you do with him?
Well, early on, he just did everything with me. So he was copied on communication, in meetings with me, copied on emails. And it's kind of crazy now to see the things he says about email and things he'll say verbally. It's the same stuff I said.
So you pretty much did it, and he.
Oh, if it was his listing?
No.
No. So he creates the opportunity.
It's his listing.
I help him. Like I help him work it. Again, we wouldn't, like right now, just to be blunt, our model right now does not support brand new. We don't really right now.
Brought any brand new agents.
Building out that infrastructure. We ideally want to help somebody get a little bit past that surviving point to thriving, because surviving is a different combo. That's where we say, no limiting beliefs here. We say, hey, if you want to get into the business, you want to be a part of our organization, come to KW, join our downline, get an Ignite, get in productivity coaching. I need to see that you can get up and running and doing something.
And our most recent, just to give you some perspective, like Keith Sean assistant is probably the best example of that. Yeah. Like what we found is that like from our recruiting standpoint, let's call it from today in the past, right? Like we brought on a director operations now in the last month, and there's some things gonna be like more structured, systematic about some things. But previously it was the person who annoyed us the most. No lie. We knew that because we knew they would continue. We knew that they would do the work because because culturally we found that when they did that, they would stay and we could help them thrive. So like the showing assistant showed up to events and said, I want to be on the team. And said, we only have any spots. Literally that's it. He said, well, I'm gonna stay in your face I'm gonna earn it until you make room for me. So he forced us to make room for him on.
And told us he was gonna do that.
Yeah, he told us he was gonna do that. And so for a year,
My type of guy.
he did, yeah, and that is our type of guy. So for a year, initially, he would just show up and then he's like, all right, man, we'll come be our runner. So we had him doing running stuff. And they were like, man, this guy's good. They were like the listing team, right? He's like, all right, come and do a couple showings for us. Like, and this guy's good. Like, he just kept going like, this guy's good, right? And then at the end of the year, it's like, man, this guy's good. We got to bring him on the team. Like, that's literally what.
He's got to continue to graduate up. So I guess the answer is, we're not bringing on a brand new agent and saying you are an agent on our team.
Period. So
You're
that
saying-
agent would have to come through the team, through the
Showing
company.
assistant, runner, like
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
in the
you're
organization.
in the like the coalition, like the bench basically.
Gotcha,
Yeah, you're playing
Gotcha.
on the bench.
And going up the ranks.
Yeah, now as we bring on, like, we're going to the point, we're gonna bring in more of a cohort of agents. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it like that, but that, like I said, from today in the past, the way we've done it, we don't have a lot of agents, right? Like
Right.
7 other agents. So like, you basically just like work your way up like anything else. Like, hey, coach, what can I do? Right? Like sports, right? Hey,
Right.
coach, what can I do? What can I
Right.
do? Coach, what can I do? What can I do? And like, that is the way you earn your spot on the team.
Otherwise, they're coming in proven already.
Or
Yeah,
at least,
we have-
showing that they can survive.
Right.
And the other piece too, we weren't about bloat. Like, we got to make sure, like, as this pie is split, there's enough people to eat and live. Like, how many folks got last year? Everybody
Everybody but one.
all but
probably.
one, and like, that's a big deal on teams. Like, that's why you don't need, well, at that phase, we did not need 20 extra folks. We wanted those 7 other to be making not just enough to survive, but to be good in life and do other
So
things.
you have a capping model where they don't pay a split at all anymore?
No, they pay a split.
Continually, period.
And that cap within the brokerage.
Count with them.
But it's
Okay,
like,
but they still pay you a split.
That's
Correct,
correct. They're on the team.
But they don't base on their GCI. then
I'm
they're
just
Yeah.
asking.
No, I'm just
That's a
saying.
controversial question. That's what I believe. but
Oh,
Yeah, I
everybody,
don't care
you can
what
run your team how you want to run it,
I-
right? Like
I
for
agree.
this, for me and mine, as my mom, and dad would say.
You sound like
Yeah, yeah,
you still get paid.
Yeah, that's what we
I
have.
agree.
Well, you still get support,
I agree
So-
with you. I don't
Get
disagree.
leads, get support, get-
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
and we do provide a lot of leads for our team, like,
Yeah.
meaning like,
We didn't say
they're-
that.
They're very warm,
Yeah.
and also a lot of them are extremely warm.
Yeah.
Because they're from, like, that's.
From
that's
you.
clientele, yeah, from-
Right,
from us.
right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
I
like,
agree.
80 to 85% of the business they do is coming from.
From
Yeah,
like,
I
salt
understand.
warm leads. yeah.
Yep.
We're
Like,
just, I'm telling the world, telling you guys.
Like, even in the car, like, right before we walked in, I had a past client referral, buyer consult. She's actually in the Middle East State Department doing something else, like, it's middle of the night there or whatever. I had one of our buyer specialists on there, and I didn't say this in advance. They went through Calendly, it was booked. I knew we had to be here at this time. I forwarded it to one of our buyer specialists. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do the warm intro, I'm gonna talk you up, you go through the system. I will then recap with y'all later tonight. I have no qualms, no fear. I'm confident that the client or our person on our team that took that will close it and explain if there's anything else that I need to do to help finish and close. But like, that's a good system, and that buyer agent will be serviced by, that buyer will be serviced by the buyer agent.
But it was originally your client that you
I
passed
mean,
on.
mine in that I attracted the original opportunity.
Understood,
And we think
understood.
of, even language-wise, we say, how
Yeah.
many opportunities do we create
Yep.
versus service? And as
Right.
we talk about like our future of kind of moving out, we will always, and I know I will always create real estate sales opportunities.
Right, right.
But there will be a point where I'm not physically touching
Understood.
hardly any of them, except for the ones that are, real close,
And it came on your Calendly through Brevity, which is connected through Zapier.
Other way around.
Uh,
Came on
Calendly,
Calendly, went
Zapier,
into Zapier.
Yes. Okay.
I think from that's probably from social media, like a friend sent her our Instagram, she went to our website, booked the appointment, and came in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you touched on something that I feel that we've talked about. Sorry, did I just?
It's okay.
I
You're okay.
apologize.
It's okay, you've already started before.
That you touched on that we have talked about, and that is like, if someone is thinking about, if they're on a team, if they're thinking about being on a team, is that team, what am I getting, in return, if you will, for whatever my split is to that team? And I think, I don't know, my philosophy is you shouldn't lead a team if you aren't providing value
Agreed.
to the people on that team,
Absolutely.
and have enough business
Period.
leads, whether you're buying those leads or whether they're coming from your own sphere, to be able to help feed, right? Because that was somewhat, it should be more organic.
Yeah.
right? The creation of the team as opposed to, let's just make a team.
Right.
Right? Let's
Right.
build the team because we have to build that team because I've got more business that I can handle. And now I need to help, continue to build that business. And I need other people to help me build it even more.
What's that same capacity thing we talked about earlier? Like, I think in any phase, it is irresponsible to bring somebody else into your role, either from a salary standpoint or from an agent standpoint, until you've looked at your P&L, you know your numbers enough to say, if I hit a brick wall, I can help take care of this person for the next quarter.
But also, like, I think people come in and say, all right, it's time to start a team. I need agents. And they just look around and it's like, agents. And it's like,
You read the red book.
like,
Opportunity,
yeah, you
opportunity,
didn't read,
opportunity.
you didn't read the red book,
Everybody.
basically, right? It's like,
Right.
you need support for it. Like, you can, if you want to be honest, I believe that I'm a like numbers guy, I like stats and trend lines and stuff like that, right? I'm like, you can do 100 deals with one agent.
Yeah.
And but you need 4 people,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you bring those people in first, right? You need 4 other people. You need a listing man, you need an executive assistant, you need a listing person, you need a buyer person, and then you need someone to, like an ISA or someone to help you with appointments. If you have those 4 things, you can do 70 to 100 deals. And he's proof of it, right? Like, and so, sorry, what did I say? Showing assistant, listing assistant,
Transaction
ISA,
coordinator.
yeah.
What is an ISA?
Inside sales
Sales
agent.
associate.
I mean, honestly, I think the smaller number is, executive assistant, transaction manager, and then listing, and then someone to mercenary to open doors that you're paying in a.
Yeah,
Contract.
but there's a like, you have those, you can do 100 deals, because then you're at command center, right? Someone's opening the doors for the buyers, someone opening the doors for the listing, and you got someone help you with appointments. You can do 100 deals, because every person that comes on your team should add close to 25 deals to your team.
Scarlett.
So obviously you're dominating DC area. Are you have any thoughts of kind of expanding in other markets or kind of having an expansion team? Is that in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll mosey on out to a few places.
Mosey.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
dip your toes in the water.
Yeah, just see how it is
Yeah.
here and there, whatever. So, I mean, but like, we're very much, we probably don't move as fast as some other people, because like when we go, we want to make sure we're like have a infrastructure and a system that people, when they come on, that we can help them win right away. We don't want to put people in a position where they're not winning. It's not a win-win situation. So I know, like, yeah, I think that's how we look at it. It's like, let us get our home straight first.
Yeah.
Right. And then we can see how can we replicate that. And because even though we might sell 400 some transactions this year, there's like stuff that we need to put together to be able to help replicate these systems in other places.
Because again, we're still so much in the business
Yes.
personally, and it's an interesting model that's allowed us to operate a little bit leaner, because we're still attracting so many opportunities compared to some of the other teams that go to a new place and have to dump a bunch of revenue to create opportunities. So long-term, yes, that is an open-minded goal that I will be open to and listening to Ryan. We are still got some things we're building out locally, because your hub has to be tight.
I think it's going to be faster than that. Like, we brought, like, bringing in a director of operations to kind of help with certain things. That was my role. So it's not like we didn't have someone over operations or whatever, but had someone to come in and do, fill in the gaps and weaknesses that I had, and then be able to take over some of the things I was doing, so that we can like go do other things and continue.
So we'll probably see that return on investment with 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, we're seeing it right away, but like, it's really gonna manifest itself in probably 6 months or so.
I don't really have a question, but I just moved here from North Carolina in August. And my best friend, one of the reasons why I'm in real estate, she's #1 in the market center in Greenville, whatever. So I called her this morning, and I'm like, I was telling her that you guys were here. And within an instant, like before I could even tell her that I was coming here, she was like, Ryan's gonna be there. She's like, you need to go. And she's really loud. Like, she is very, very loud. And I'm like holding the phone like this, like, okay, like I'm going, like, don't, she's like, you need to clear your schedule. Like, you need to be there. I'm like, okay, like I'm going, like it's okay. And so I, like 10 minutes later, I called her back and I was like, well, have you done a deal with Ryan? Like, have you guys like refer? She's like, no, we're just friends on Facebook, but you need to go.
Who's your friend?
Kanisha Brown.
Oh yeah, I know who she is.
She is like, she like you, she's poured into me, and she's one of the reasons like I'm in real estate. I do what I do. I was rookie of the year, and then my next year I capped in 23 days. I go, you guys like basketball, so it was my Jordan year. And it's kind of like, and it goes back to what you said earlier. Like my dad's a first generation Indian here, and the first thing that he ever taught me is like, if you do business with someone, and you need to make sure that you are in consistent contact with them until you die. Yes. Like that you do not want to be in business with somebody that you're not going to do business with again, or like you need to make sure that the way you treat your people is like they're going to come back to you and like use you for life, or you recommend you to somebody else. So absolutely. Definitely refreshing to hear that from you guys. And like I know she yelled at me this morning for being here. I was already coming here, but just I want you to know. Yeah. So I just want you guys to know. She was like, Ryan, oh my God, you have to go.
Ryan like starting debates on Facebook. Yeah, follow him on Facebook. Entertaining content.
Yeah.
No serious debates. Just movies, basketball, sports, food.
So I want to ask you something, because you said it before, and that is, you said you're not doing enough activities. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about?
Yeah. So
lead generating activities, right? I think that's the phrase to use in our space. Yeah,
there's a lot of different ways to get to it. We keep talking about, I mean, what are some, how do you get business, right? Like what are the things you do to get your phone ring?
Yep, seminars, reaching out to past clients, having conversations, using the board model with that.
For example,
family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Yeah, and by doing that should revel up some business, right? And I think events for you can place that in different categories, whether it's seminars or even events for your past clients, things of that nature, to be able to do that. And also, I would say if you are door knocking, if that's cool in your market, do that as well. And open houses. And another thing that a lot of newer agents don't do is reach out to the people in their office that has already done that business and see how can you be of service to them. Because when Harrison had listings, I would try to share them all over my social media. Yep. When Ryan had listings, I would say, hey, what can I do for you? And that's very important because it's a two-way street when you're building a mentor.
That's how I was with Kanisha. Like I was all of like, we were door knocking together and doing open houses. I'm like, can I just sit with you? Yep. And I won't say anything. Let me just sit with you.
That activity gets slept on a lot because a lot of people are fearful to ask those questions of the people that are already doing it. But KW has such a sharing culture.
I would just preface that with like don't go with a spirit of contribution, even when you're a new agent.
Not a leech.
Yeah, not a leech. Yeah, because when people feel that, like it's kind of like commission breath, it's like the same concept. It's like you just want something from me. That's what it feels like. And so what I mean by that is like a simple example, right? When I first came in, the first thing I did, and maybe just because I learned it from somebody else, like some other people I knew, but they were like, you go in and you meet all the top people because they're already doing what you need to be doing. So like go learn from them. But when you meet them, right, how can you add value to someone? And like we always use that word value, but it can be a little foggy on what that means. So like how can you add value? You'd be surprised how you can add value to someone. It doesn't have to be you give them a deal of the biggest thing in the world. It could be as simple as hey, there's this new restaurant and I know you like this type of food. Like, let's go eat over there, right? It could be something really simple. Hey, I talked to this agent. So what I ended up doing is I talked to all the top agents, right? And I shared the stuff that each of them told me with the other agents because they're like, yeah, I'm missing this in my business. Well, so-and-so does this for that. Yeah. That's a good idea. And then I would just go down the list and I started sharing all the other like little tips and stuff that I sent. And so the reason why that's important is because they would meet with you again. You can always get one meeting for free. The second one, you got to pay for it. Meaning like you have to have a reason for someone to come back to that.
Another hack we didn't talk about with him was Ryan got on the plane. He went to go like seek out people like in different phases. Initially with just business building, then as we've been building our team, and now with your multifamily investment, like Ryan was never ashamed, afraid, embarrassed, whatever, like that confidence that he's got, like if someone is doing something at a high level, he'll reach out to him I say, hey, can I come take you out to lunch? Take you out, like he would go do that. I'm looking like, why the hell are you flying all over talking? Like even to me, I didn't get it. But then that wealth of knowledge and that bank you've been able to build up are little pieces we've been able to both implement, but also then share in the other places, like a bee, right? Cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
So I have one more question. So the three of you went to college. Can you tell me what your degrees are?
Mine is business administration with a focus in sales and marketing.
Right.
Mine's is computer science.
Digital art, focus on photography and graphic design, and a minor in theology.
Look at you. Okay, so at what point did you have a conversation with yourself and you said, you know what, it's real estate? Like what made you make that switch after you just spent all that investment in college? Why didn't you go after what you got a degree in? And what was the pivotal moment that made you go into real estate?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I graduated in May, was supposed to have a job in July. I was always an entrepreneur though, in addition to our parties, I started a website where I would go buy Costco water for $5 and sell it on campus for 10. So I was like doing stuff like that at 18, 19. Best friend's mom was like, you've got a network on this Facebook thing. I don't know how, but you have like 3,000 connections already. It just started last year. And people know, like, and trust you a little bit. So you should try this. So it really took best friend's mom named Sherry Sivertson that encouraged me initially to try it. I didn't really have a plan.
Real estate.
To try real estate,
Yeah.
sorry, to get licensed in 2 months after graduating from Georgetown. And my mama did not believe that. She still asked me until I brought her a 30 under 30 magazine. She was like, so when you going to law school, baby? When you going to law school? How's this real estate? Is it going good? She's like, oh, and now she's like, my baby's a realtor. But yeah, that was I didn't fully believe, had someone encourage. I saw the connection between the entrepreneurial stuff I was doing anyway. And for me, it was like the people that gave me the opportunity. Like I've only had one W-2 job ever, right? Never had a W-2. I've always been an entrepreneur. So it just made sense for me. But
It's funny you say that. Like a couple weeks ago, my mom was like, we were talking about something and she was like, I knew the world was different when you quit a 6-figure job to go do some real estate. I was like, she was like, and even my dad, when I was rookie of the year doing my campaign, he was like, son, you sure you don't want to just go get another job while you're doing this? I feel like, that'll be good for you. So it's like, you kind of get some of those pressures from other people in your life that just haven't, they didn't experience this before. And they don't know what it's like to live in this type of world.
And that was actually me, graduating from Tuskegee, going to corporate America, having a 6-figure job and benefits, right? With a family, like that was very scary to go to full-time real estate. But I think that I didn't know grass was being on the other side, and thankful for this person that said, hey, Keith, you can actually come do this at a high level, right? So immediately, dual career, right?
Dual career.
Yeah. And another thing, I think the fulfillment that you get from real estate, I didn't get that same fulfillment.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to help people in my community, right? The first property I ever bought in my life was in the neighborhood I grew up in, right? And I wanted them to see that, hey, people like us don't do that where I come from, quite frankly. We don't do that. But I wanted them to see that's an opportunity for you and you can do that. So that fulfillment I got from that first property was the same fulfillment I got when I helped my first client, right?
And I moved up the chain in the tech world. Like I got paid well for like a W-2 job. Eventually being an independent contractor, even within like software development, like had my relationships built. People were giving me subcontractors. I mean, I was making probably like $100 an hour or something like that. Like that's pretty good for whatever 20-some-year-old. I didn't know what to do with it, but I was there. But I think what's important is what's interesting is like when you said that question and I heard the answers, I was like, we literally play the same roles though, still within this business. Yeah. So I think that's what's important is that sales and marketing is still sales and marketing.
Yep.
Like software engineering, engineering is about systems, right? And like how you think about like a big system thing. And then like you got media and arts and philosophies and emotions and stuff. It's got all this stuff over here. And like we literally play the same roles that we had. So it didn't change. It like the majors didn't change us from who we were. I think it helped us kind of find ourselves in a way too.
And the full transition, Scarlett, was clarity around numbers. Like I used to have a calendar. So as I said before, I was a DJ, right? So I could have my DJ business and waiting tables at night. And I had just a plain old handwritten calendar. And every night I would write how much I'd make that night and I'd add up at the end of the week and end of the month. And I remember it was like summer 2009 where I'd been licensed for a year. And I was like, damn, I think I had 2 real estate transactions. That had tripled what I made the last like 3 months before. I should probably put some more time and effort into this. Because and like DJ wise, I was approaching probably 6 figures with my DJ business because I was doing other stuff. I was just an entrepreneur. I was always like a way to figure it out. But there was that critical inflection point and clarity around what I could actually earn and how much more fun I was having. You know, I'm like, I can have a night, like my wife and I, when we first started dating, like I never went out with her. Like there were friends she met. I never went out with her on weekends because I was DJing every night on weekends. So when I like, who is this guy? That you've been dating him for years. We've never met him. He's working when we're not working. So that like, it was a lifestyle choice and just clarity around what I could earn and having enough business in my pipeline, knowing what my pipeline was, tracking it and looking at it. And for folks making the transition from W-2 or benefit jobs, it was a combo we had to keep. It was like, there's a number on what benefits cost for your family. And for you, we can break that down to 3 or 4 deals. That's that same number. And until you know that, the transition can be challenging. So you've got to have clarity on numbers. Any other questions in the chat? Can we look at those? And, yeah, here, let's see if
I think those are old ones because I've been answering them on here with what.
I heard Ryan correctly. They thought that once you were doing 24 deals, then the TC. I had to get one. Everybody's capacity is different. I had to get one before 24 deals.
Oh, you did?
Because I wasn't that good. I was like my agent skill level, like I was good at systems, and like it's funny. My one of the top agents in our Joel Nelson, he'll be like, you know, Ryan, you're a good agent, but I can tell it's really hard for you. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. So like there's a capacity that I have with a combination of like the energy that it takes to be an agent and like do you get more, like how do you generate energy, right? Like for your life. And like, does this add or does this take away energy, like certain things? So like, it was hard.
Introvert, extrovert. Like,
yeah,
you get a lot.
Yeah, it just took me a lot. With Keith was like, oh my God, this is amazing. More people.
Super high.
Yeah. So I can make money by just going to hang out with people all the time.
This is great. Well, I'm like, okay, Ryan, you can do it. All right, we're gonna go with people and we're gonna talk to them. Okay.
But that was interesting. Amanda, I don't know if she was still there. Well, sorry, we can. I know we went over time, so for me to wrap.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Did somebody say Amanda?
Go ahead, Mandy.
Oh, what did you say? Go ahead. Were they reading the questions?
Looking at it. So Amanda, to this one specifically, there are transactions, like you talk about add administrative support, you can pay at closing for some transaction services. So in our area, so that's like the first place where I say like you hire help until you get paid. So like look at models that can offer money that way, but yeah, always you don't pay what you don't have. There are ways to build support, and even with like the first one I wrote out, just going to share with y'all, helping me with showings. So that was like different. So there are different ways without cutting a check for money you don't have. Definitely don't spend money you don't have.
Okay. I guess I would talk to Bridget about that kind of service. I guess who offers that type of service.
You see, I mean, there's even an MRE, like there's different ones.
We have an in-house transaction coordination team. Yeah, Tracy.
There you go.
She makes my life 1000%
Well,
easier.
Tracy, that's not our Tracy.
Different Tracy. Yeah, she was smiling back there though.
Thank you.
But also like, don't stress about like, until you have reached the capacity, like it is okay to do it yourself to build up the money for, I know Ryan's saying, don't do it all yourself. I'm saying you don't have to spend the money initially.
For me, if I had to like do transaction management, the deal would never close.
So soon to be a high school graduate.
I would never get paid.
You would never get paid.
Soon to be a high school graduate. They're impressive. They're amazing. Like, can I go work for them?
We need someone to help us with TikToks.
Yeah.
That's a different language.
She's doing a TikTok right now.
I'm good on social media.
She's doing a TikTok right now for us because we've got a top agent collaboration tomorrow. And I said, that's where you can bring value tomorrow. So she's she's doing a day in the
How do you
life.
bring
She started
value?
it yesterday and she's gonna share it
This
to
is
all of our
TikTok
agents.
Gen Z,
She's like the queen of TikTok.
There we go. Good.
Queen.
We were the teaching social media class 10 years ago. And I was like, all right.
Facebook and
Yeah.
Instagram.
Phased out.
Awesome. So you have brought us a tremendous amount today. What can we do for you?
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram for sure.
At
Coalition Properties on Instagram. We love referrals, like who doesn't? We love them. So if you connect with us on social media, please, or through email, you can definitely send us referrals that way. If you have any interest in wealth building, you can reach out to me directly. You can kind of put you on a list for the type of deals that are like specifically for my people. If you're in my list, you're my people, you get the opportunity. You're not in my list, I don't know you. That's not how, it just doesn't work that way. So very particular about that.
And then talent too, like we were talking earlier about just people in our world, the talented folks. Like there's different phases that we can engage with talent from an admin or agent standpoint, but we always want to know talented people. So if you think there's alignment, think they like to be connected to us. I always like to make my world bigger, and that's our culture. And we teach other classes too. He's got some great classes on sales training. I've got yeah.
Get business cards.
No. We have a digital business card.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but I have a couple physical cards where you can scan.
Yeah, business cards.
I just
Instagram,
got back from
Instagram to the finance page.
I use Blink
It's
and
not
Link,
there, but
BLINQ and LINQ is our digital.
Kiana, did you have a question? I see you unmuted.
That's the
Kiana,
Instagram page you connect with us on. Right? That's Coalition Properties.
no?
You don't have a TikTok.
Phone is in my pocket.
Oh,
I'll make it.
did you have a question?
No, I like the presentation. You did a great job.
Thanks, Kiana.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. That's mine.
Great.
Thank you.
You can-
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure. I love a hookup on the beach house too. When they're
We're gonna get a beach house?
We got
No, we were actually joking about that. I think I'm actually gonna go west because I'm afraid global warming is gonna make beaches
You think
wash
West
away.
is gonna be better?
In the middle of it, like mountains, like for a second home. He wants another beach house.
I know,
wanna
I
hang out
found
at
it
the beach house.
interesting, Norfolk, Virginia versus the Maryland and Delaware beaches, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, Norfolk is a different price point than the Delaware Maryland beaches. Oh, we need a good place to go eat right now. So
Rehoboth Ale House in Dooley. Well,
how
if that
far
helps.
away is that?
It's like 12, 13 minutes. Oh, yeah,
Cottage.
They're all like, literally, if you go
That's
out
pretty good.
here, there, and then literally take your first right, there's like a couple in there.
It's probably a
so
quarter
it's-
mile.
Okay, I like that.
So it's Tesla getting charged, so we have a charge.
Yeah, we got
need
no
a
charge.
charging station.
Thank you guys so much for being on there. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. very
That
much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
I will make sure to go tell Kamisha that I came and spoke to you and said her name, because she actually just threw through an event this past weekend.
I thought you were
There you
cell
go.
phone charger.
I figured when I saw
Hey,
you, I figured,
Hey,
when you said that, I was like, I need a car charger.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys so much. That was great. Yeah.
We are available for questions for the next little bit of time. If you're pointing this
Oh,
out
we had
for
you, man.
questions. Got this on, so-
Thank you.
Break.
Where's that? What did you
You
do?
can find, I can connect you with all.
Was this your charger?
Harrison, I think
I
this
mean,
yours.
Harrison, was this yours?
Everything was mine.
That was yours?
Yeah.
So do I have to plug this thing back in?
Yes, yeah, I can help you. That's
Thank
physical
you,
too.
sir.
You like paper?
Who's
No, I
your
don't. My
OP?
phone is doing something dumb. I
Call
gotta
me
take
Peter.
it back to Verizon.
Don't know.
Look 'em up.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got, he's OP for a lot of people.
yeah, well, that's what I
Got
got.
it.
Interesting, but interesting.
Okay.
Who's OP?
Matt Fedek?
Oh, yeah, that's my
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't see. No.
That's what I
Because
said. You asked me if it was Matt FedEx.
when you say that?
We walked outside, I'm like, yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is, and it's not the same thing. I think it's.